Imagine the scene in a federal courtroom in Oakland, California. The air is thick with the kind of tension that only exists when two of the world's most powerful tech titans go to war. On one side sits Sam Altman, the face of the AI revolution, and on the other, Elon Musk, the billionaire who claims he sparked that very revolution only to have it stolen from him. For months, the world has waited for this moment, and this week, it finally happened. Elon Musk took the witness stand, raised his hand, and delivered a line that will likely define the history of Silicon Valley for decades. He looked at the jury and admitted that he was a fool. He wasn't talking about his failed acquisition of a social media platform or a rocket explosion. He was talking about the $44 million in seed money he poured into a tiny, idealistic nonprofit called OpenAI. Musk told the court that he was the primary reason the company survived its infancy, and yet he now feels like the victim of the greatest bait and switch in corporate history. The courtroom drama isn't just about money, though the figures being thrown around are staggering. We are talking about a transition from a humble charity to an $850 billion titan that is currently the gatekeeper of the most important technology in human history. Musk's testimony revealed a deep, personal sense of betrayal that goes back to the very first emails exchanged in 2015. He described his original motivation as a desperate attempt to create a counterweight to Google. At the time, Musk was terrified that Google's dominance in AI, led by his former friend Larry Page, would lead to a digital superintelligence controlled by a single profit-driven corporation. He told the jury that he wanted to build a firewall for humanity, a place where the smartest minds on Earth could build AI for the public good, open source, and transparent. But as he sat on that stand this week, he lamented that he had accidentally funded the very monster he was trying to prevent. During a grueling cross-examination, the world got a rare glimpse into the messy divorce of the OpenAI founders. Musk's lawyers presented emails from 2017 where the tension first began to simmer. The jury saw messages where Sam Altman and Greg Brockman began discussing a pivot toward a for-profit model to raise the billions of dollars needed for computing power. Musk's response at the time was blunt. He told them they could either stay a nonprofit or go do something else on their own, but they couldn't have their cake and eat it too. He argued that you cannot use the halo effect of a charity to recruit the world's best talent and then flip the switch to enrich yourself. This is the core of Musk's $150 billion lawsuit. He is claiming that the defendants looted a charity, and he warned the court that if they are allowed to get away with it, the entire foundation of charitable giving in America will be destroyed. The trial took a surreal turn when Musk compared the situation to a husband asking his wife if she stopped beating him, a metaphor that drew laughs, but also highlighted his frustration with what he called trick questions from OpenAI's legal team. Despite the legal acrobatics, the central question remained, did OpenAI break a legally binding founding agreement when it partnered with Microsoft and closed off its source code? Musk insists that the company he founded no longer exists. He told the court that the open in OpenAI has been replaced by a closed for profit sign, and that the mission of safety has been sacrificed at the altar of commercial gain. As we move into the second part of this saga, we have to ask, how did a group of researchers who wanted to save the world end up building the most valuable startup in the history of Silicon Valley? To understand why Elon Musk is so angry, we have to go back to the early days of OpenAI, a time when GPT didn't exist and the idea of a machine writing poetry was still science fiction. The founding principles were radical. Every piece of research was supposed to be public. Every line of code was supposed to be shared. The goal wasn't to make a profit. It was to ensure that artificial general intelligence, or AGI, wouldn't become a weapon for a few elite billionaires. Musk testified that he chose the name OpenAI specifically to signal this transparency. He was the one who recruited the godfather of AI, Ilya Sutskever, away from Google, a move that he says caused a permanent rift with Larry Page. At the time, they were the underdogs, fighting for the future of the species. But, as the trial revealed this week, the cost of saving the world turned out to be much higher than anyone expected. The defense team for OpenAI painted a very different picture of these early years. They presented evidence suggesting that Musk himself was the one who initially pushed for more control. They showed the jury proposals where Musk wanted a majority stake and several board seats, suggesting that his altruism might have had a limit. When the other founders rejected his bid for total control, Musk stopped his quarterly funding. This, according to OpenAI's lawyers, was a calculated move to starve the company into submission. They argued that the pivot to a capped profit model in 2019 wasn't a betrayal, but a necessity for survival. Without the billions of dollars provided by Microsoft, they claimed there would be no ChatGPT, no DALL-E, and no OpenAI today. They argued that Musk is simply a sore loser who realized he missed out on the greatest financial windfall in history and is now trying to use the legal system to sabotage a competitor to his own AI company, xAI. However, Musk's testimony hit back hard against this narrative. He clarified that while he sought control in the early days, he always intended for that control to be diluted as the company grew, much like his stake in Tesla. His main grievance is the partnership with Microsoft, which he described as a de facto subsidiary relationship. He pointed out a specific clause in the original OpenAI-Microsoft agreement that stated the partnership would end once AGI was achieved. In a shocking revelation during the trial, it was disclosed that this clause was quietly amended just days before the trial began. Musk argued that this change was proof that OpenAI and Microsoft are trying to own the first superintelligence ever created by humans. He told the jury that the company has transitioned from a research lab for humanity into a maximum profit machine for a single tech giant. The sheer scale of the numbers mentioned in court is enough to make anyone's head spin. When OpenAI was a nonprofit, it was worth essentially nothing in terms of market valuation. Today, following a recent funding round in March 2026, it is valued at $852 billion and is eyeing a $1 trillion IPO. Musk's lawyers are asking for $150 billion in damages, but Musk himself has stated he doesn't want a dime for his personal bank account. He wants that money returned to the nonprofit arm to be used for its original mission. This leads to the most chilling part of the testimony, the discussion of AI safety. Musk argued that by focusing on rapid commercial deployment, OpenAI is ignoring the existential risks he has been warning about for a decade. He described the current path as a race to the bottom, where safety is treated as a PR hurdle rather than a technical requirement. Part 3. The future of the human race. As we look at the wreckage of this friendship and the high-stakes battle for the soul of AI, we have to consider what this means for the rest of us. This isn't just a squabble between two billionaires. It is a trial that will decide who controls the brain of the 21st century. If Musk wins, it could force OpenAI to open source its most powerful models, effectively giving away the secrets to GPT-5 and beyond to the entire world. It could derail their IPO and fundamentally change how every tech company in Silicon Valley handles nonprofit subsidiaries. On the other hand, if Sam Altman and OpenAI prevail, it will solidify the closed-source high-profit model as the standard for AI development, giving a handful of corporations unprecedented power over how we work, think, and interact. The judge in the case, Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers, has tried to keep the trial focused on contract law and corporate governance, even telling the lawyers that this is not a trial on whether or not AI has damaged humanity. But as Musk's 7 hours of testimony showed, you cannot separate the legal structure of OpenAI from the philosophical question of AI safety. Musk's core argument is that digital superintelligence is too dangerous to be controlled by a for-profit board that is beholden to shareholders. He painted a picture of a future where AI is optimized for clicks and revenue, rather than truth or human welfare. He told the jury that he felt a moral obligation to bring this suit because he was the one who opened the door for these individuals, and he couldn't sit by while they looted the charity and put the world at risk. By the end of the first week of the trial, the public was left with a complicated portrait of both men. We see Sam Altman as a brilliant strategist who successfully navigated a bankrupt nonprofit into a global empire, but perhaps at the cost of the very ideals that attracted people to the project in the first place. We see Elon Musk as a visionary who saw the future clearly in 2015, but whose ego and desire for control may have contributed to the very rift he now laments. Whether Musk was truly a fool for giving away $44 million, or whether he is the only person standing between us and an unaccountable AI monopoly, is a question the jury will have to decide over the next 3 weeks. The tech trial of the century is just beginning, but the opening salvos have already changed our understanding of the AI industry. We are no longer talking about cool tools or chatbots. We are talking about the looting of charities, the betrayal of humanity, and the trillion-dollar struggle for the steering wheel of the future. As the trial continues, we will see more emails, more secret recordings, and more testimony from the people who built the modern world. But one thing is already certain. The idealistic, open era of AI that Musk dreamed of in 2015 is officially dead. The question now is what kind of world the closed AI era will build in its place, and whether we will look back at this courtroom in 2026 and realize that, like Elon Musk, we were all a bit too foolish about the risks we were taking.